talk a bit about this concept of marginal gains. The British cycling team hadn't won a gold medal, or they had won at least one gold medal in 100 years. And then they got a coach or a consultant who this coach or consultant helped them to make these small changes that helped them to win like 70% of the gold medals in like 4 years um, at the Olympic level. And the difference between the teams that had not won one gold medal in 100 years and the team that won 70% of the gold medals within 3 years were really small things. Um, they changed the pillows that they were sleeping on so they could get better rest. Um, they changed the gel that they were using for massages so that they could ensure that their recovery was happening faster. All like really small things that they were changing in order to go from terrible one gold medal in 100 years to exceptional, winning 70% of the gold medals within 3 years. And I know that oftentimes when we're thinking about what it looks like to create a kinder or more humanistic, more just society, that oftentimes we are not excited about um, incremental progress. We want to see big things happen, and we want to see big things happen right away. And we get frustrated at the small things because it seems like they don't matter. But massive breakthroughs are almost always the result of lots of little things that happen over time. And that's got me thinking about this concept called edge case that my son taught me about. It is when I tell the story about living across the street from a pimp and how he had high levels of empathy, that instead of people thinking about how they could be more empathetic every day, trying to understand what another person thinks, feels, or believes, thinking about how they could listen better, how they could read the room and understand, try to understand people better, how they could learn how to label their own feelings so that they could be more emotionally intelligent. Instead of doing that, they say, I wonder what that pimp's story is, and I wonder what happened to them, and trying to think about how they can fix the pimp. And I don't know. Last night I came to the conclusion, and I'm curious to know what y'all think, that perhaps the idea of focusing on the edge case or the pimp is a form of resistance. Like, you can't change him. You ain't never gonna see him. You know that by and large, if you um, get a chance to talk to him, he's unmovable. So, do you have to do anything really? Because if we are focused on marginal gains, it requires us to try to get better at least 1 percentage point every day. It requires us to do little things over a long period of time instead of trying to throw this Hail Mary that ain't going to turn into nothing. When I look at Project 2025 and the fact that it took over 40 years and hundreds of people to come together, consistently working together around the common enemy of collective work and responsibility. It's like the people who put that document together. And this is where cognitive empathy comes in. We have to understand what these folk think, feel, and believe. You see, that the people who put that document together worked together around issues of housing, policing, criminal justice, education, healthcare, and they didn't care if they had points of disagreement. Wherever they agreed, they said, you know what, let me write my plan, put my plan together in this document. 40 years they worked on it. I wonder what they must have been thinking in like 2009 or 10. What they must have been thinking in 2012 or 13 when they were losing, or at least it looked like they did. They kept working. That's what marginal gains looks like. And so lately people have been asking me, or at least sharing with me this, that they're having these conversations with the most hateful people in our society. And there's an invitation of sorts for me to do the same. And I would argue that there's a certain percentage of the population that is absolutely committed to their point of view. They ain't moving. They are committed, honey. They are not willing and able to agree on things like people should be fed. We have enough food. There is no reason for someone to go hungry when we have enough food. When something like children being sexually assaulted by the most powerful men on the planet is not a disqualifier. Why who needs God when they got me? You know, it's as if when I think about the biblical story of Saul on the road to Damascus, Saul was a persecutor of Christians. Just in case you're unclear, that means he was a murderer. So some of us think, let's go to edge case. We're going to fix Saul. We're going to change him. But I maintain that some people are not going to build their empathy muscle unless God gives them an empathy building experience. So I say, who needs God when they have us? But what does it look like if we're not focused on the 10% of the most hateful people among us, but we're focused on that massive group in the middle that is dangerously indifferent, apathetic, don't care, disengaged, too busy, too tired, too exhausted to be involved in the process? You see, that group, they're not committed. They have not decided. They are influenceable. But that group requires us to engage in marginal gains every day. That group requires us to look at the pillows we sleep on, the massage gel we use, the little things we eat to make us be improved or be better at whatever it is we do. And when you think about that, that takes work, sustained effort over a long period of time. And you know what? It might take 3-4 years before you see an outcome. But when you're focused on edge cases, somebody who ain't willing, ain't able, you sitting down thinking you doing something, you ain't doing nothing. Paul, before Saul became Paul, Saul would have killed me. He needed a God experience to build his empathy. You know, and today is, we're in the middle of this 31 days of kindness. And my life has been improved as I have been kinder to people in the smallest ways, just looking people in the eye, smiling, paying attention as I'm walking around. I'm here well before check-in time, and I could tell that the woman was exhausted. And when I say hello, and I'm looking for something that I can compliment her on, and I compliment her on her nails, she gets me right in my room. Her entire demeanor changes. And I love the idea of kindness. But for at least 50 years, at least, my ancestors have been saying overtly to me, conversation and discussion and discontent and disagreement can be about all kinds of things except my basic humanity. So I refuse. There ain't enough kindness you can sell me to have me sitting down with somebody who does not think I have the right to exist, who will discredit my credibility at every turn, who thinks that somehow because of the color of my skin or the fact that I have a vagina just disqualifies me from being able to do the God work that is mine to do. And so when I think about, do we want to change 1% every day, doing small incremental things like like the folks who were on the British cycling team? Do we want to do that? Because that's going to take a long time. That might be something that I don't see in my lifetime, but I hand off to the next generation something that they can build on. Or do I convince myself I'm doing something by sitting down with people who are not willing and not able to move off of their position? I don't know. I'm starting to wonder if we really don't want to fix it. Because one of the first things I learned when I learned how to be a coach, and at this point we talking, gosh, 16 years ago when I first started coaching people professionally, if someone is unwilling or unable There ain't nothing you can do to help them get better at anything. And so, like, this idea that I'm going to pick the people who are the most hateful and that's where I'm going to focus, it reminds me of my TED Talk. You're going to go over there and talk to Brad the Pimp about how he needs to be more empathetic when he already got plenty of empathy. He was using it every day to get women to sell their bodies and give them their money. He understood them very well. He knew exactly what he was doing. Meanwhile, the purpose of that TED Talk was to teach us to stop being hypocritical, for us to consider that we have work to do in listening and recognizing that most of the time when we are enraged about something, it is also something we ourselves have done. That the people who just go to work every day making sure folks get fed are doing their part to shift the narrative for individual people in the world. And I believe in systems change, okay? But some of us are like throwing Hail Marys at the football game, and and legitimately don't have the arm to throw it. So, I don't know what y'all think, but I'm pretty solid here that I don't know, this focus on edge case might just be a futile effort and keeps us from having to do any real work besides stroking our ego and saying I sat down with the most hateful among us. The opposite of empathy is not hatefulness. The opposite of empathy is dangerous indifference. It's Filter Free Friday, y'all. We got work to do.